Hello, 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 and welcome to 20 Years with the Narcissist. I'm your host, Shakira, and I would like to start with words of affirmations. You are whole, you are complete, you are enough, you are strong, you are brave, you are resilient. You are guided, you are protected, and you are safe. And this here is a safe space. Today, I have my first guest. I am very excited to introduce Miss Kellie Miles, owner of Virtuous Woman Queen's Lair. Hello, darling. How are you today?
I am good. Hi, Shakira. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, the podcast is titled 20 Years with a Narcissist.
hmm
So, of course, my guests are here to tell their stories about toxic relationships that they were in, where it could have been a possible narcissist, but we shall see. So, let's start with, well, did you want to introduce yourself? Did you want to kind of, talk a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure, why not? So, as you already heard, my name is Kellie Miles. I am the owner of Virtuous Woman Queen's Lair LLC, and I am a creative confidence coach. And what I do is improv her sessions where we take real life scenarios and we practice real life because you figure the athletes they practice before the big game, the dancers and entertainers they rehearse before they go on stage, and we go before we go up there and do a big speech. We practice that speech so we can get up there and know what we're talking about. So why not practice everyday life and try to figure out how we can walk in confidence, what we can do to improve our relationships, and how we can go into the room and own that room without feeling those strings and insecurities that pull at us every single day, where we're not walking. We can be confident but not walking in our full power. And so that's what I do. I help people to walk in their full power. I also have a nonprofit, VWQL Foundation, and our nonprofit, we have different programs that are aimed to enhance those, to challenge your thought processes, increase your mindset, and then also inspire behavior modification and changes. We go out and we do things within the community. We bring productions. We also have scholarships that we give out to the community as well. And so those are just a few of the things that I'm involved in and I'm working on.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I will definitely leave your information down below for anybody who wants to go check her out. All
Yes.
right. Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes, shall
Let's
we?
get to it.
All right. So apparently you were in a toxic relationship, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So may I ask how old you were when that relationship started?
So, I would say I was at least about 19. I was about 19 when I first met him and we started dating and all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so let's jump right in there. How did you all meet?
So I met because we were in Community College of Philadelphia, and we were both in school. He was a couple of years older than me, and I was never like a groupie. So whenever I would see people flocking towards your jocks or your singers and stuff like that, I would kind of walk away like, all right, y'all got that. I'm good. I'm over here with it. But then he was one of those people. He was a singer. He was in the cafeteria with all his groups of people singing and stuff like that. And me being me, I was just like, yeah, I'm good. And I walked away. But apparently he noticed me. And so he
Mhm.
came over, left the crowd to come talk to me. And, he kind of, got had his little conversation going on, sparked my interest, and so we started talking. And then after we started talking, we started dating. And I think for me, emotionally, I was young. As us young people deal with a lot of insecurities, low self-esteem, dealing with different daddy issues that we have
Mhm.
unresolved within ourselves. And
Mhm.
so I feel like a lot of the stuff that he was was talking about, it appealed to me because of the voids that I had. And so because of that void, I kind of gave into it, even though if I was in my right mind, I probably wouldn't have, because I would have saw some of the red flags. And so that's when we began our relationship, when I was 19 and in college at Community College of Philadelphia.
So that was the lure, you would say. The thing that pulled you in was he was filling a void. He was talking in a way where he could fill something that was missing within you, you would say.
I think that's what pulled me in, is
Hmm.
because he was saying things that was meeting a void that I had. So, I didn't feel like I was very valuable. I felt I had low self-esteem. I
Hmm.
didn't always like how I looked, my appearance, and all of that stuff, and all of the other issues and relationship stuff that I went through. So when he
Hmm.
was coming over and he seemed like he was really genuinely interested, he seemed like he really was, and not only that, I'm a church girl. So he was talking about, he goes to church and he's studying to be a minister and this, that, and the other. And so I'm like, well, maybe I'll check you out just to see what you're about, because there's not a lot of guys nowadays that's even thinking about talking about God or anything like
Facts.
that. And so that it kind of pulled me in. And because he pulled me in with that, I was listening to some of the stuff. And because I'm a
Mhm.
compassionate person and a very understanding person, I give people a lot of times the benefit of the doubt. And sometimes back then, especially, I could be a little too nice. And so I think what I was doing was I was looking at those red flags and saying, oh, giving an excuse to it. Oh, it's all right because of this. Or I was giving excuses for what I was seeing, because, and then I felt like, oh, he really, really likes me because he always wants to be around me. He really likes me because, he doesn't want me to talk to anybody else. It started
Mhm.
to turn into one of those things where I was making excuses for it, because I felt like, I guess I wanted to feel like that was, it was genuine, it was real, it was what I
Yeah.
needed, and he was filling that void.
Absolutely. And I can completely relate to everything you just said because
Hmm.
my situation was very similar. So, all right, he got you in his web, he pulled you in. Now, did he actually go to church? Was he a churchgoer or was that
Yeah,
a.
he was, and that was the
Okay.
part that was the part that I think, that was the part that kind of it got me, because I started to go to his church. We wound up getting married.
Okay. Got
And
it.
so, yes, we wound up getting married. And the crazy part was, I think I met him in maybe like January of like 99, something
Hmm.
like that. And then in, I want to say October, we was married.
Got it. Did he propose?
So wait, hold on. Let me not
Yep.
make sure I ain't
Go ahead.
lying.
Yep. Take your time.
I think it might have been in 2000. No,
Hmm.
no, I'm sorry. It might have been 99. Anyway, whatever it was, I think it was 99,
Hmm.
because we had our son in 2000. So,
Got it.
but he did propose. I don't even remember how he proposed, because it wasn't like a standout. It wasn't like no big to do. It was just like, oh, okay, sure. You know.
Got it.
Um, but yeah, he did propose. We did wind up getting married, and um it was just, he invited me to his church, and so I started going to this church, and me being
Hmm.
19, it was like I felt like I'm stepping out from my mom. I'm not being up under my mom no more.
Okay.
I'm going to find my own church. And my
Yep.
mom saw red flags, and she was trying to say, Kelly, like, open your eyes. What are you doing?
Hmm.
But I was just
Hmm.
like, you know what? No, you're just trying to control me. I'm a young lady now. I'm a young adult. I need to make my own decisions. And
Hmm.
so I stepped out, saying, I left my church and started going to his church. And as
Got
I'm going to his church, it was a lot of stuff that was going on there that, obviously, being 19, I'm thinking, wow, I got somebody who's in the church, somebody that
it.
sings, somebody that's,
Mhm.
trying to take his career to like the next level, whatever that is.
Mhm.
So I thought it was like, all right, we're going to be good. And so all of this other stuff, nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? You just
Course,
look at it and
of
say, oh,
course.
nobody's perfect. And so I kind of rolled with it. And so as I continued to roll with it, um, I started to overlook a lot of those red flags that, in hindsight, if I should have paid more attention to.
So, what was one of the first things you did notice that made you feel like the relationship was off? Like, I don't
So
know.
believe it or not, initially I was going to say when we actually got married, but I'm gonna
Hmm.
actually go a little bit before that, because
Hmm.
um when we were going to church and stuff like that, I wind up living with him and his mom. And you heard me right, him and his mom. He was like
Yeah,
23.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 19, but him and his mom. And I wound up living with him and his mom. And I started recognizing that what he did when he was hooping and hollering in front of the church was completely different than what he did when we got back home. And
Hmm.
I used to be like, wait a minute, this is you can't stand up here professing to be a man of God and you know, jumping and shouting and hucking and bucking. And then when we go
Hmm.
home, you treating me like trash, or you treating me, you know, being real disrespectful or controlling and stuff like that, you know. But again, I just brushed it off like, yeah, you know, he is who he is. You know what I mean? Nobody's perfect. We're all in here. The church is like a hospital and everybody's coming there to get better. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset that I had. And I really, really had, you know, it wasn't as helpful because so many people were saying to me it's better to marry and to burn. And that's also something that I will encourage people who are watching this. Just because you go to a church, you need to seek God for yourself. You need to develop and have
Yes.
a relationship with God for yourself, because just because you go to a church, and you have to be very careful of where you go, because not everybody is really
Mm-hmm.
preaching the word the way that it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I didn't understand that, and they were saying it's better to marry than to burn, because oh, we in a we living together, we sleeping together, you know, so you don't want to burn and go to hell. And because of my relationship with God, or what I thought I had, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to continue to live this way. So
Right.
that's what prompted me to marry him. Is not so
Okay.
much because I was like deeply in love. I mean, he was cool. I
Mm-hmm.
liked him, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I was deeply in love. I felt like I was just infatuated with the idea of being in love, and infatuated with the fact that I liked that he sang to me and
Mm-hmm.
he made me feel like I was the most important person in the world, and I enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
that. So I think that's why I wound up marrying him. But during those times of seeing the difference between how he acted there at the church and then behind the scenes, that's when I started to identify is something wrong. And then when we got married, I started
Mm-hmm.
noticing how, you know, it was a lot of verbal abuse. It
Mm.
wasn't a lot of physical as much, but
Okay.
it was very manipulative. The mindset was he manipulated me, and I
Mm-hmm.
believed him. He spoke down and very condescending to me. He
Mm.
was, you know, he would hurt me. He would start to look at other women in front of me. Like literally, I
Mm.
was pregnant with my belly sticking out, and we walking down the
Mm-hmm.
street, and he doing one of these numbers, like looking at the chick, like I'm not standing there, like
Wow.
so disrespectful.
Yep.
And then a lot of times he would blame stuff on me because he felt like, oh, you're not doing this and you're not doing that. Well, why would I? Because look what how you're treating me. But it was that gaslighting, that manipulation that was
Yep.
going on. And at the time I didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
But when those things started happening, it really was kicking in. Like this is something that's not this ain't right. So
No.
those are the
No.
two moments that I would say before marriage and then after marriage. Before marriage, when he was doing all that stuff, hooping and hollering in church, and then we would come
Mm-hmm.
home and be so different. And then when we got married, just the blatant disrespect that he used to show and the things he used to say.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to like kind of pinpoint some of those red flags and things that you were overlooking. So that's a perfect example. Like you walking down the street and he like, dang, and it's like, hold up, bro, I'm standing right here. Are you serious? Yeah, they
Right.
be dead serious. Oh no, they don't care. So
Mm.
how would you say those behaviors like affected your emotions? Like, did you cry a lot? Did you internalize it? Did you become more hard or cold? Like, what was your emotional status during, this relationship?
I would say initially it was, um, I think it was hurtful. And it weighed on my self-esteem and my self-confidence, and it was embarrassing
Mm.
because a lot of the things that he would do, people would know and would see. And now they're looking at
Mm.
me like, what's wrong with you that you putting up with that? So it kind
Yeah.
of made me feel embarrassed, because it was like, I know my mom did not raise no crazy fool, and here I am trying to save the world. I'm not going to change him. I'm not
Mm-mm.
going to make him be who I want him to be. You can't change people. They have
Mm-mm.
to want to change on their own. And if you're not important enough to them to change,
Mm.
you making certain gestures or doing certain things or saying certain things is not going to change them. You know what I
Mm-mm.
mean? And I noticed that, just to put a pin in that with my current husband, when we first
Mm-hmm.
got together, we knew each other all our lives. We knew
Right.
each other, but we just kind of full circle came back together. But when we came back together, there were certain things and how I conducted and carried myself that
Mm-hmm.
he realized he can't do certain things or dress certain ways or do certain things. And he himself made the decision to say, this is
Uh-huh.
what I'm going to do to step up so that I can make sure that I keep her. And that's what he did. Whereas on this side with my ex,
Mm-hmm.
no, he just did things. He was very controlling. He did not want me to, it got to a point where me and my mom didn't even talk because she saw
Mm-hmm.
stuff and it was like, oh, your mom is trying to separate us. She doesn't understand what God is doing. She doesn't understand our relationship. And so all of that stuff caused us, you know, me to gravitate more to him because in my mind
Mm-hmm.
I'm split. Okay, I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
be with who is now my husband, and I want my marriage to work.
Of course.
I want to honor God because I know that my God does not endorse divorces,
Right.
and I want to make sure that I'm honoring God. And so I'm trying to make this marriage work and trying to figure out how this is going, what can I do to make it better? And
Right.
but he kind of separated me from that. I had no friends outside of the
Mm-hmm.
people that were at his church.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
And yep, and he manipulated me because I felt like I had to be friends with them because we're all on the same page and they
Mm-hmm.
understand me and they understand what's going on and they know him and they know us. And so if I have an issue, I can talk to them and they'll understand but they're only hearing part of the story.
Of
So
course.
anyway, yeah, not to get too veer off to the left, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those were some of the things that I felt like caused me to be my emotions was kind of all over the place. I was hurt, I was embarrassed,
Mm-hmm.
but then it got to a point where I started to get angry.
Mm-hmm. That's
I
what I
started
want
to
to
get I started to get angry.
do.
So after a while it was like, wait a minute, come on.
Yeah.
You're not going to try to tell me that it's my fault that you decided to go out there and start looking at other women. You're not going to tell me that because of how you come in here. I mean, there were times where he got locked up a couple times because he was
Okay.
accused of rape of other women,
Wow.
and he would come to me and try to tell me this whole story about what happened, and I'm supporting him in court, and all of this stuff. And there was times where, we would bail him out, and I say we, it would be his mom or me or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sitting here like, yo, I'm doing all of this for somebody that's not even respecting me. That doesn't even he wasn't even keeping a good job. He would spend money on like $400 jerseys, like authentic jerseys, when we got a mortgage due and we got bills to be paid.
Wow.
And then you would lose a job and get a job. And then he would tell me when he came back in from wherever he was at, go upstairs and get in position. What?
Wow. I was about to
What?
ask, did he cheat? Like, did he go out on you? Clearly.
So outside of what I know of
Mm-hmm.
two instances. One of them was in the newspaper. And
Oh,
now, mind you, this is how dumb I was. And I just young, dumb, and just stupid. One of
ignorant.
them
Let's say
was
ignorant.
before,
Uh-huh.
right? One of them was before we got married.
Oh,
And I looked at it and said, I don't believe that you did that, but that's because I didn't want to.
yeah, you dismissed it.
I
Absolutely.
dismissed it but it was embarrassing because it was in the papers and we had to go to court and people, you know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So it was embarrassing for me, but
Sure.
because of where my mental was at the time as a young person, because of my own
Mm-hmm.
voice and because of me wanting to have compassion and believe
Yeah.
that that's not what he's going to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
later on I started realizing, like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
he was doing some of that stuff to me, so I gotta believe that you did it with her because you did it with me, and
Absolutely.
I just let it slide.
Yep. So
And
the
but it
next
got me angry
one,
afterwards.
okay. And the next one he cheated was during the marriage.
Yes.
Because y'all was together 7 years, you said?
Yep. We were together for 7 years. Yep. And so
7 years.
the last time when we were married,
Mm-hmm.
and he did it, I was at work and he was not. And
Clearly.
so I get, we after I got off work, we went to this cookout up near Alney that we was invited to. And while we're at the
Mm-hmm.
cookout, his mom called me like, y'all need to get back to the house. I'm like, what's going on?
Mm,
The
mhm,
police is here and he's looking for him. So I'm like,
mm.
why would the police be looking for him? So we leave, we go up to the house, and nobody was there at the time, so they must have came back. And then when they came back, he had his shirt off, looking like a scene from Cops, drinking out the orange juice container, and they come in.
Wow.
Our son is 2. It's like 5 cops coming in, guns drawn, pointed at him, talking about put it down, come on, you got to go with us, you're under arrest. And I'm standing there with my 2-year-old like, what
What's
is happening
happening?
right now? Like, what is my life right now?
Insane.
And
Insane.
so I get my son, and now when we come outside, it's the whole neighborhood, the whole community is outside saying stuff,
Watching.
not just watching, but they like verbally attacking him. Then people started saying stuff about me. Then I heard somebody in the crowd like, that's his wife. She don't know what's going on. Leave her out of it. Like, and
Wow.
then they take him to the
Appreciate.
yeah, to the precinct, and I'm following behind because I'm like, what am I going to do now? Because his mom didn't really like me. So now I'm gonna be stuck living in the house with her, and she don't even like me, and I'm there with my
Golly.
2-year-old son. So
Mm-hmm.
all of that being said, he wound up getting locked up, and so once he got locked up, eventually he did get convicted, and they brought the people from the first case
So it's still
into.
rape. It's
And
still
so it
like
was
still.
so yep, and he has to register as a sex offender and all of that stuff.
Yep.
And
Yep.
while he was locked up, I was still supporting him. And then I had gotten abused. And so when I went through that, I it was somebody at the church.
I was about to say somebody else got it. Yep.
Somebody at the
Yep.
church.
Wow.
And this is why I say you have to get your relationship with Christ yourself, because even though
Mm-hmm.
that stuff happened to me, I recognized and understood that it's human beings, and human
Yep.
beings have inordinate desires, and God gives you free will. And
Yep.
between that inordinate desire and that free will, you can do things that's going to hurt and impact other people. It
Yep.
doesn't mean that's what God did. And a lot of people say God
Absolutely.
did this to me and God did that to me. No,
Mm-mm.
he did not. That person did that to you.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Agreed.
saying? Because they have free will and you have choice, and you
Yep.
choose to do something. A lot of times those choices do impact other people, and it has
Mm-hmm.
consequences that come with it.
Oh
So
yeah.
because of the choices of human beings, I wind up getting raped myself by the bishop of the church.
Wow.
Um,
Madness. I'm
that's
so
a whole
sorry.
that's a whole nother
Another
different story.
story.
But in the
Yep.
midst of that, and as I was praying and as I was talking and asking God, what is going on there? Mind you, I had bought a house in Kensington, not knowing anything about Kensington. And here I'm thinking I'm buying this nice house. And here I'm living in Kensington, PA, in Philadelphia. And it's just crazy. I'm living
The
there now.
Badlands. The
The
Badlands. It's
Badlands.
horrible.
And
Yes.
I'm by myself now, and I'm this little girl. I'm short. I'm only like 5'1".
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
at the time I might have been like what, 100 pounds, 115
You know what I'm
tops.
saying? So what
So
are
I
you
was
like
small.
23, 24 by now? Like what's your
By now,
age
yeah, I
range?
bought my first house at 22, and that's while he was locked
Ah,
up. I bought the house,
okay.
and then I bought the house, and then when he was going back and forth to court, his mom bailed him out. He came back and he lived in that house, and so we lived in that house until he went through the whole court process and wound up getting
Okay.
convicted. And when he had to do his time, and then when he had to do his time, um, that's when he was away from me. And it
Yeah.
brings me back to this song, and I don't know who sang it, but it was like, Lord, it was a talking point, and Lord, can you just lift the devil off of them enough, or lift them off enough for them to make a conscious decision? And
Ooh.
so when God pulled him away from me and had him in that place to deal with him, because he's still God's child, so God's going to deal with him. And again, choices is what caused
Yep.
him to have to deal with what his consequences were.
Absolutely.
And while he was dealing with that, I was sitting there like, this cannot be what marriage is.
Mm-mm.
This cannot be what you have for me, God.
No
So
way.
I prayed and prayed, and I found scriptures that said that if he steps out, if he cheats, that God does not endorse divorce. He does
Right.
not. But there is a way,
He's-
if there's a scripture where it says, and y'all can look it up because I can't tell you right now. I'll have to look it back up myself. But I found
Yeah.
that scripture that talks about if somebody steps out, or somebody cheats and has sex with somebody else, then that is, you have broken that contract. And so that
Yes.
was what I used to say, Lord, you got to get me out of this. And so
Yeah.
during that period while he was incarcerated, we were
Mhm.
able to go forth, get the divorce, and and I was able to get away and really reevaluate myself and say, why did I allow myself to go through that? Why did I allow myself to be so gaslighted and believe what he was telling me?
Mhm.
Why did I allow trauma bonding for us to continue to have those connections based on the trauma that we were dealing with within our own lives? And I sat down and I had to do some self-evaluation and
Sure.
self-introspection to say, why did I allow myself for 7 years to put up with and
Yes.
endure that? And the thing that made it so bad is
Mhm.
that our son was watching this.
The whole time, because he was. So you said he was 2 when they locked him up when you was about what, 22. So within that year, you
So
got
I
your
was
house.
20, yeah. I was 22. He was
Right.
22, 3, 4, 5. So he was probably about 26 because he was about 4 years older than me.
Right.
So
So your
yeah.
son was about 2 at that age. So now
hmm
you move into the house. How long did he was he in jail? Because you stayed. You said 7 years. So that's only about 3 years right there. How did
So
you get to
yeah.
7?
So he was incarcerated. Let me think. I think he was incarcerated. So my son was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then when all of that happened, by the time he was convicted, my son was 4, which was in 2004.
Got it.
So in 2004 is when he actually was incarcerated.
Okay. So
And
you
he was,
already in Kensington. You about
yep, I was
24
already
now.
in Kensington. Yep, because I bought the house in 2002 when I was
Got
20,
it.
21, 21, 22, something like that.
So, yep.
And so
Okay.
then he was incarcerated. He got up to 6 years, but he also got time served from when he was in before he got bailed out. So that
Okay.
time served was during that period of time. So my son was about 4. And by the time he got out with his time served, it was about 2006.
Okay.
Um, no, we got divorced by 2006.
Got it.
So he was
Okay.
still incarcerated, but we were
He
able to get
was.
divorced in 2006. So I believe we
Nice.
were married from 99 to 2006, which is 7
Gotcha.
years, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I was just trying to figure out the timeline because I'm like,
Yep.
wait.
So from 99 to 2. And the crazy part was, like, who meets somebody in January and marries them in October? And you're just meeting them for the first time. That's just not wisdom, because you cannot know a person
Mm-mm,
completely within that
mm-mm.
short period of time unless you knew them for 20 years and you're just reacclimating to the new them
Yes.
that they've become within that time frame.
Yes. Yes.
So, but I was young and I wasn't thinking, and I
Of
was too busy
course.
trying to be independent and do my thing
Mm-hmm.
because my mom was a drill sergeant. So I'm out
Mm-hmm.
here like, all right, well, I'm gonna be me now. So anyway, but then when my husband at the time, my ex-husband was incarcerated in 2002 to 6,
Mm-hmm.
around that time. I think he did a total of about 5 years because of time served. And then in
Okay.
2000, I think it was 2006, we got the divorce. And by 2007, around
He
that
was
time,
out.
he was out. And I say that because that's when I started to try to allow my son to go see him, since it was so
Okay.
long. And that was a whole nother thing because I don't think the institution changed his thinking or his mind. It's just time passed. And
Yep. Pretty
so,
much.
yeah, it was just time had passed. And so, there were things that were happening when my son would go over there and he was like, Mom, I don't want to come over here no more. And, the things that he was doing, and, he was not respecting him, still treating him like a little baby, because that's what he
Wow.
remembered before he
Yep.
got locked up. And so,
Yep.
my son was having a hard time. They would fuss, fight, and argue.
Mm.
And so I had to get to a point where I had to say, to explain to my son, I never spoke bad about his dad. I never talked negative about him. I never said that, but I allowed him to see things for himself. And when he
Yep.
started to see them, I started to give him things to pay attention to when he goes over there. If he feels that uncomfortable, let me know. We will come
Yep.
get you. You
Yep.
know, I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Nope.
So, it got to that point where after a while, then I got reconnected by 2010 with my current husband, who knew him.
They knew each other.
They, well,
So
they didn't know each other like tight, but they knew of each
he
other.
knew
They
of
knew
each
who they
other.
were. Right.
All right, so time out.
And
You
mhm.
said, all right, so you got the divorce and you was pretty much done with them. That was the action that you saw. Because that was my next question. What actions did you take? Did you seek help? Did you set boundaries or make a plan to leave? So that was your
Mhm.
plan. You was like, okay, divorcing them, done with you.
Mhm.
So when he moved out, his home plan was not at your house. He moved right back with his mom or
So
something like
when
that.
he by the time he when he went into prison
Mm-hmm.
for like officially, it was
Mm-hmm.
um I was in Kensington.
Yes.
So in when all of that stuff happened after he got locked up with the bishop and all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff happened, by that
Yes.
in that time period, I said, I'm out. I'm not staying in Philly. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm just falling off the face of the earth. I don't want nothing to do with nobody except for my immediate family.
Yep.
During that time, I left and I sold the house in Philly, in
Got it.
Kensington. And I
Yep.
moved into the suburbs. And so when I went into the suburbs, I I think it was 2005.
Okay.
So 2005 is when I moved and I sold the house. And
Okay.
then I got myself an apartment. I moved in with my mom because she lived out in like the Valley Forge area. So I moved out and lived with her for that period of time. And then
Mm-hmm.
after I stayed with her for a while, I got my own apartment. And then when I got my own apartment, I was like, you're not coming back here when you're out. And that's when I
Mm-mm.
started the divorce process. So by
Got it.
2006, within
Fix.
from 5 to 6 is when I
Mm-hmm.
started that whole process, talking to
Got it.
him about getting a divorce and everything like that. And he paid for it because he wasn't going to do it. And I had to go back and forth with him. And then he finally got to the point where he was like, well, if I've never been able to make you happy, so if I were to make you happy, this is what I'm going to do for you. Yes. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
very much. I appreciate it. And
Yes.
I'm telling you, when the divorce was final, I literally went into the grassy park area and was frolicking in the grass like a commercial.
Yes, I'm
Literally.
free.
Yes.
It's
It's
such a freedom.
over. So yes,
Yes.
and then after that is when I
Mm-hmm.
made the determination that I loved myself enough that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stick to my ground. I don't care how many, because it was so many times where I used to tell him, you gotta be bipolar, because one minute you're talking about how much you love me and how much you want this to work, this, that, and the other. And then the next minute you calling me all kinds of bees and all kinds of,
Yep.
derogatory things. And
Yep.
I'm like, wait, didn't you literally just tell me this and now you calling me that? It was literally like,
Mm-hmm.
it was confusing. It was manipulative. And I
Mm-hmm.
got to the point where I got angry and I was like, I don't have to keep taking this from you. I don't have to keep taking
Mm-hmm.
this from nobody. And that's when I got to the point where I had to make a determination that I'm no longer, these are my standards. I'm no longer dealing with this. and
Yes.
and that is one of my key things now. Like, I hear some women, especially when you're in a church, and I understand it, and I respect it, because to each his
Mm-hmm.
own. There's some
Mm-hmm.
women are like, hey, if my husband cheats, we're gonna work through it, we're gonna work it out, we're gonna do that. And sometimes that does work, and I give
Mm-hmm.
God all the glory, because he can work relationships out with
Oh,
that.
for sure.
I'm not doing it. I'm
Mm-mm.
not doing it. I'm
Mm-mm.
I'm not. If there's any inkling or thought that I feel like I'm in competition with somebody else, then I'm not the one. And it's not going to weigh any bearing on me or my self-esteem, because I know who I am now, and I know what my value is. And so it doesn't
Yes.
weigh on my self-esteem. And I'm not phased by women who walk around with all of their stuff out and my man is around. Hey, I see it just like you do. So I see it. But there's a difference from when you gawk at it and when you stop it and
Yes.
making it at a point to kind of turn around and
Yes.
look at it.
Yep.
Everybody got eyes, so we all see it like you do, but your response and how you deal with that. And I don't allow that to affect me, because I'm confident in who I am. I know
Mm-hmm.
who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger and back then, I didn't. I wasn't confident in myself. And I felt like I needed to have that to make me feel some level of security, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
false sense of security that I felt. And I thank God that through that whole time, even though some of the stuff that I dealt with was because of my own choices, that God
Mm-hmm.
graced me to be able to deal with it, and still kept me wise enough in here to see some of the stuff, recognize it. And even as I was going through it and processing it, I realized, Kellie, you don't have to go through this. You don't
Mm-mm.
have to keep allowing someone to do this to you. And he was
Mm-mm.
telling me the whole time, it's just that I wasn't listening because I was
Oh,
holding on to that false sense of security, trusting in that human being more than I trusted in God. And then I
mm-hmm.
had to learn it wasn't God that did that to me, it was my choices. And now I learn how to make better choices and seek God's holy direction and guidance as I study his word, as I dig deeper into him and gain a greater connection with him. The next time I said, I know I'm getting married again. I knew it. I didn't know
Yes.
when, who, or how, but I knew that I was going to
Yes.
get married again. And until that time, during those years in between, God
Hmm.
worked on me. Make
Okay.
me better. Help me to understand who I am. Help me to
Yes.
see where my deficiencies are, what I can improve, and so that I have
Yes.
my standards and not waver on that no matter what. And I
Hmm.
understand nobody's perfect, but I also understand that there's certain boundaries that I'm not going to allow you to cross. And if you can't respect that, then I am not the one for you. And there were a lot of people who had told me, you ain't never going to get married because ain't nobody going to put up with this, that, and the other. Word? Okay, that
Wow.
means I'm not for you. That's what that
Yep.
means.
That's all
That's
that
just
meant.
that's just what that means. Point blank, period. And I accepted that. But it's unfortunate that I had to go through a lot of those experiences that I went through, and the manipulation and the
Hmm.
control. I mean, it was even one time when I was with my ex walking down the
Hmm.
street, and my current husband now was sitting in I think we was walking down like Ogon Sitting Avenue or something like that in Philly.
Hmm.
And we was walking down, and he had me clutched up under his arm so tight that you couldn't walk, you couldn't see. And my current husband now, we weren't together at the time, but we had
Hmm.
known each other all our life. And he was
Right.
sitting there with his friends, and he was like, "Yo, ain't that Kelly?" And they was like, "Yeah, ain't that your ex girl, whatever? Yo, you
Yeah.
want us to go over there?" And he was like, "No, no, no," because he just had me hemmed up so tight.
Yep.
But that's a control thing. And at the
Yes, it
time, I'm
is.
like, "Oh, he really likes
He
me. He
loves
really
me.
loves me." That is not that kind of
No.
control. Not wanting me to go around my friends, not wanting me to
Yep.
even talk to my parents or my mom. You know what I'm
Isolation.
saying? It was that isolation because then he can
100%.
control
Yep.
what I was doing and control
Yep.
what I think. And he got so much into my head. And then using the
Hmm.
church, you got to be very careful because people will use the word to manipulate you. And if you don't know for yourself, you will
Hmm.
fall for it because you will think and take it on as this is what God wants me to do. But if you have a
Hmm.
real relationship with him, God will show you, no, baby.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Will
That's
give
not
you
it,
that
baby.
discernment. That's discernment is a real big word. I just want everybody to know, learn, understand in its entirety. It's not just a word. It is a heavy meaning behind it, because to have discernment is to know whether somebody is good for you or not. What is this thing good for me? Should I do this? Is this the best decision, best option for my being? And
Yep.
if you can't answer that with a sure yes, it's not good to indulge. So
Yep.
yeah, that was my next question. Like, how long did you wait? And when did you meet your new husband? Because now you got to tell the people the aftermath. Because I think that's where a lot of my community, the people who watch my podcast, is like, yes, I'm going through this right now, or oh my goodness, I think I'm with a narc. So now it's like, okay, she just told you how she went through that experience. She listened to the creator of all things and said, no, I don't have to deal with this. Got out, poured into yourself,
Mm-hmm.
grew, elevated, and then God was like, okay, now she ready. And
Mm-hmm.
he sent you who, you would, have
Mm-hmm.
what would we say, share souls with. So tell
Yeah.
us about that. Tell us about that. So you, since 2006, you divorced him. You didn't meet your, reconnect with your
Reconnect.
current
Yeah.
husband. Yes. Because y'all knew each other since kids. Y'all was together in the past, but y'all reconnected in 2010, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then tell us
So
the love story. Yeah, we gotta
so
know.
so yes, so the love story was that me and my current husband, we were in elementary school together, like second grade. That's when we first met, was in second grade. So we was in elementary
Um,
school. We went to AB Day Elementary School in West Oak Lane. And
okay.
we had lived across the street from each other also. So he lived on one side and I lived on the other side. Matter of fact, the streets is like this. He lived on this
Mhm.
street on the corner and I lived on this street on this
On
corner. So
that
we
side.
technically literally right across the street from each other. And
Literally.
Yeah. And so we hung out with the same friends because we all went to school together. We used to run
Hmm.
around in the neighborhood, in the community and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
my family knew his family already because we all lived across the street and we grew up
Yeah.
together. And then my mom had me at 16. So she was still young
Okay. Yeah.
when she was, so she knew his older sister and my aunt and my uncle. We all lived in my grandmom's house. So everybody
Wow.
knew everybody across the street. He was the
Yeah.
one where my grandma would be like, "Get that boy off of my step," because we all sitting on the steps and hanging
Yep.
out. And she'd get that boy off of my step. And so we would be running
Hmm.
around. And, we kind of dated on and off from literally second grade. Like he gave me my little first kiss sitting on my porch, my
Oh,
grandma, and he gave me a kiss. And I'm like, just all girly and got the
yes.
little butterflies.
Absolutely.
And then he, but he was a bad boy. He
Was
was,
he?
yeah, he was a
He
bad
had to
boy.
get it out of system real
He
quick.
had to
That's
get it
all,
out
you
of
know.
system. And so we kind of dated on and off for years. And,
Okay.
when my mom got old enough to get her own apartment, she moved into her apartment in Mount Airy, and my grandmom still stayed where she was at. So he always lived there. So whenever I came to my grandmom's house, we would all kind of
I see.
still hang out, but we still had each other's, contact information and stuff like that
Okay.
also. So we would still stay connected. And, he used to go to the juvenile detention centers for stuff that he was doing.
Oh
And I
my
would write him letters. And
gosh.
I would write him letters. And, then I got to the point where it's like, well, what are you doing with yourself in 5 years? And he's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I don't know. I'm like a
I ain't think that
teenager.
far.
I didn't get that far. So,
Hollering.
we got to about 17, because he's like a couple months, I'm gonna say 9, 10 months older than I am. And
Okay.
so we got till about I was about 17. He was incarcerated again. And I was
Hmm.
like, all right, I'm done with this because you just don't seem to be, doing anything. And so we kind of
Yeah.
broke up.
Got
And
it.
after that, we kind of went our separate ways.
Okay.
And so I hadn't talked to him or seen him in all of them years. And
Until
then
2010.
until 2010, and
Well, y'all
I
ran into
am,
each other walking down the street. You seen him,
huh?
he seen you. Y'all ran into each other walking down the street that one year with your ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't enough until 2010.
Yep, yep. And
Okay.
I don't even remember seeing him. This
Yeah.
was a story he remembered and
Told
told me
you.
later on.
Got it.
But yeah, so he when we actually did reconnect, it was in
Hmm.
2010. And it was funny because I was like, all right, it's been about 3 years since 3 or 4 years
That's
since
my
I had my
divorce.
divorce. So I'm
Hmm.
like, all right, I think I'm ready to date now. And so
Okay.
I was just getting on a date scene. I tried out the little online dating stuff, and yeah, I
Hmm.
wasn't really
Been there, done
interested
it.
in that. And
Mm-mm.
then finally I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to so and so, because we was friends. We was cool. So I looked
Yes.
him up on social media. And I was
Okay.
like, I saw his pictures. I was like, girl.
He done got fine, fine.
So I
Yes.
sent him a message, and I was like, I don't even know if he gonna remember me. So I sent him a message.
Hmm.
And then it was like a day or so later, I had got a response. And I
Okay.
was like, hey, you look like, some kind of rapper dude or something out there, but you look like you're doing your thing. And he was like, oh my God, I've been
Hmm.
looking for you. I was like, really? You've been looking for me?
Wow.
So we met up. We went to Dave and Buster's in Plymouth Meeting, and we met back up for the first time. We both had kids because I had a kid with my ex, and then he was
Mhm.
engaged, and he had a kid with his ex fiance. And then we met up at the Dave and Buster's, and it was hilarious because the two boys, and he brought his nephew, because
Okay.
his nephew's like maybe 10 years younger than him, 10 to 12
Got
years
it.
younger than him. So he brought his nephew with him, and then the two boys, my son and his son, they
Huh?
running around Dave and Buster's like they been knew each other. They friends, they rolling on the ground, they wrestling, they
Wow.
tussling, they
They the
having a
same
great old time.
age or
Same
around the same?
age.
Stop
Same age.
it.
They are a year. No, they are 2 months and one day apart. One is June 4th and one is
What?
August 5th.
That's
Yep.
amazing.
So 2 months, and that's just crazy too. And then when we seen each other,
Hmm.
he was like, I've been looking for you. And he said, if I ever found you again, I'm not letting you go this time. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. That's so cute. But I'm still like brushing it off because I'm still trying
Yes,
to
you
get
a
to know him.
little.
Like, I
Yes,
done been through
I
all of this
understood.
craziness with this.
Yes.
I want to make sure. So,
Proceed
but
with
the crazy thing
caution.
was, right. The crazy
Mm-hmm.
thing was when we was in Dave and Buster's, he gave me a kiss.
He said, "Screw that. I'm going in. I'm
I
diving
was like,
in."
what? I was just like, I was shocked, but then I wasn't. But then I was like, should I have let that happen? But it was just like, okay, well, it's done now. So
Yeah.
we just we just kept it going. But we stayed in contact, and he said he was not gonna let me go. So he stayed in contact.
Meant that.
We got to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I think it might have been, I want to say it was October that we actually reconnected
Mm-hmm.
and we started talking. We already knew each other. Our family already knew each other. So
Yeah.
finally by, I want to say, um, what was it? It was, I want to say in September of the next year, we was getting married. It
Yes.
was
So
a
did
little
he
less than a year.
propose?
And that was like 15 years ago. So
Wow.
yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes, we've been
Wow.
married now. It'll be 15 years this year. Yep,
2010
15 years.
does
So I would
2026.
say that to encourage everybody that if your hands is closed, you can't receive what God wants to have you. So you have to be able to open your hands and let go of what you're holding on to that's not right for you, that you know is
Mhm.
not right for you. And I'm not talking
Mhm.
about somebody who is married and they're, having tough times because everybody has tough times. But if you're
Mhm.
actually being verbally manipulated, abused, and mentally used, and all of those things, that's not what God has for you. That's not
Mhm.
what He wants for you as your daughter. That's not what
Mhm.
He wants for you as a believer in Christ. He
Mhm.
has so much more for you, and that's not it. Being abused and misused, and if you don't know the use for a thing or the purpose of a thing, you'll
Mhm.
misuse it or abuse it. And if
Yes.
men
Right
who don't
there.
know the purpose of a woman and don't
Mhm.
know her value will
Mhm.
misuse and abuse, and you will accept it if you don't know your own value. So you
Yep.
have to know your value and know that's not what God has for you. He has greater
Mhm.
for you, He has better for you. But if you keep holding on to the things that are not good for you because it's comfortable,
Yeah.
because it's familiar, because it's what you're used to,
Yeah.
you're going to miss out on the blessing that God has for you. You'll be holding hands with the wrong person, and the man who's right for you will walk by you because you don't look available. So you have to
Mhm.
let that go so you can receive what God has for you. And in order to really receive that, you got to sit down and do some self introspection and say, how do I get prepared for the man
Yes.
that God has for me? What do
Yeah.
I need to perfect? Am I mouthy? Am I argumentative and combative?
Mhm.
Do I have that
Mhm.
Miss Independent mindset where I don't need no man? Well, if you have a Miss Independent, I don't need no man mindset, you're not going to get one, because there's not going to be a man that wants to be with somebody that's so super independent that they can't help allow their man to be a man. You know what I'm saying? So just
Yes.
allow your man to be a man. Open yourself up so that you can receive him, and seek God for specific directions on who He has for you in to be in your life that will enhance and complement you instead of misusing and abusing you.
Facts. And I agree with that 100%. And that part, because I feel like let's say, keep trying.
All right, I see you.
Yes, I had got a call and it messed up the whole thing. So
Okay,
I'm
that's all
praying
right.
that I think it started over. So I'm praying the other video uploaded and everything worked out with that, or I'm gonna be devastated. But yeah, I find myself continuing to try to skip, I definitely poured into myself. I did some healing. That was another thing I was going to add to, are you mouthy and all that? Or do you have trauma that you have not healed from? Because we take that trauma and then try to, inflict it upon other people who ain't have nothing to do with the trauma. And that's just not
Mhm.
fair. And how can you expect a healthy relationship that way? So you definitely have to,
That's true.
find, yes, you have to heal and you have to pour into you, get to know you in your entirety, love you. love. The first time I looked in the mirror and said, I love you, Shakira, I cried. I was like, it felt
Yeah.
so weird. Like, I've
Yeah.
never told myself I love you. You know what I'm saying? No, we don't even
Yeah.
think sometimes like that's something that we should even say. Other people supposed to love me. They're supposed to tell me they love me. Why would I tell myself I love myself? That's weird. No, that is necessary.
That's
You know what I'm
necessary.
saying? And I had to learn that. So at least I'm like, okay, how do you expect somebody else to love you if you don't even love you enough? So I
Right.
had to learn that. So yes, I thank you so much for telling your story today and helping others. I pray people got value out of all the words that you
Absolutely.
said today. Like I said, I'm going to leave your information so that they can contact you and reach out to you. So that because it sounds like you have, a good thing going where you help elevate and pour into,
Yep. And it's
women.
from this experience. It's from this experience that helped me to see, what do I find? Let me find out what's going on deep inside of myself that's causing me to accept these type of relationships and this type of treatment
Yes.
from anybody. And a lot of times we don't even realize it that those traumas and those things that we've experienced in our lives have this string that's holding us down, that's
Yes.
holding us back from becoming fully who we are, walking in our full power. And that's the stuff that I'm trying to get into, is that deep set stuff that is
Hmm.
causing you. How do we get to that and peel back those layers so that we can
Yes.
clean all of that out, and then you
Hmm.
can feel lighter, you can feel happier, more confident, and it allows you not to bring that stuff into your next relationship because you've cleared it all out of yourself. You might have scars that you can talk about, like I have
Yes.
scars I can talk about, but
Yep.
they're not controlling my life and they're not
Mm-mm.
spilling into my current relationship because I'm more
Mhm.
conscious of that now. So just be encouraged. And if you guys decide to come to our improv sessions, these are sessions that really help you to deal with all of that stuff that's on the inside, the low
Mhm.
self-esteem, the low self-confidence, low
Mhm.
self-value, low self-worth,
Mhm.
all of that stuff that we deal with and not know why it comes up. And even though we try to mask it and try
Yes.
to hide behind these masks of perfectionism because we want to try
Yes.
to make sure we got it all together, or walking around thinking that we're overcompensating in one area.
Mhm.
Those are all masks that we wear because of the different things that are inside. It's time to
Mhm.
take those masks off and really deal with that so that you can be authentically who you are behind that
Yes.
mask.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. 100%. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to come do a session. I had
Come
to check this
through.
out. Hold up here now.
Yes, come
Yes.
through.
Absolutely. That's a plan right there. We will definitely set that up. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, with that being said, is there anything else you want to share with the people before we end this episode?
I no, I don't think I have anything else. Just be nice to yourself. Love yourself.
Mhm.
Treat yourself right. Stay in God's face and let him guide you to your
Yes.
next.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you once again. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. Like I said, I pray that you got value out of this.
Yes.
Just remember, you are guided, you are protected, and you are safe.